Hey, it's Ryan over at 2 Minute Tennis, and this video is all about overhead fundamentals. Please consider subscribing and liking this video, even sharing it with a friend. It really helps the channel. So the first thing you want to know is the grip. What's the grip that's going to give you the best chance to hit an awesome overhead? Well, first off, please know these two spots on your hand, the base knuckle of your index finger and your heel pad. Those two spots have to go on a very specific bevel. Where's my pen? Here it is. So what we want to do first is get our racket on its edge. That gives us the correct orientation of the racket. Bevel number 1 is on the very top. And obviously we're looking at an octagon here, right? Bevel 1 is on top. If you're right-handed, you're going to count to the right to count all 8 bevels. If you're left-handed, you're going to count to the left. Since I'm right-handed, I want to use bevel number 2 for a right-hander, which is right here. This is this slanted 45-degree angle bevel. Each bevel is about 45 degrees different than the next bevel. It's 360 divided by 8, an octagon, so it's about 45 degrees per bevel. So bevel number 1 is on top. For right-handers, this is the bevel you want to use for your continental grip. If you're a lefty, you're going to use bevel number 2 on this side, because again, you would count to the left as a lefty. So I'm going to take these two spots, the knuckle and the heel pad, and I'm going to put them on the second bevel. So I'm going to place my heel pad, then my knuckle, and I have my continental grip. This is going to give me the best chance to produce racket speed and be able to impart spin for control. So the ball goes up in the air, right? As soon as the lob goes up in the air, I'm in my ready position, checkpoint number 1, right? There are 7 checkpoints on the overhead, and I'm going to take you through this. This is how you understand fundamentals. Fundamentals come from checkpoints. They're places you can video your swing or even shadow swing in your driveway the way I am, and you can work on all 7 checkpoints so you can hit amazing overheads. So the ball goes up in the air, you're in a ready position. Your elbows are out, your knees are bent, you're split stepping as your opponent hits the ball. Don't have a starting position, don't have a waiting position, have a truly ready position. So I'm going to show you from the side here. I'm in my ready position. I'm ready for a forehand volley, a backhand volley, whatever it is. The ball goes up. Now, most players I see who struggle with their overhead immediately get into this position. The strings face the sky and they point up at the ball. You want to do what Roger Federer does. When Federer sees a lob go up in the air, he turns with both hands. Look at Tsonga. I love his overhead and his turn. You want to turn with both hands on the racket, very much like a football quarterback. Now, when you do this, you're going to be getting into checkpoint number 2. Checkpoint 1 is the ready position. Have a great ready position. Checkpoint number 2 is this football quarterback position. A couple things are happening here. I've got my continental grip. I'm elbowing someone behind me because I want my elbow back in order to bring my elbow forward to use the proper football quarterback throwing motion. My elbow is back. You'll also notice my non-hitting hand is on the racket as a unit turn with my strings pointing down. This is vital. You don't want to point your strings up. When your strings point up, all you can do is swing up to contact. That's it. You won't have any racket speed and you will not be able to impart spin because your strings are facing up, which just hits flat into the ball and it's hard to control the ball. You may have seen in other videos I've made, spin is the way tennis players control the ball, and we want to spin our overheads. I prefer hitting side spin or even top spin on our overhead if we're moving backward. You might even have to hit a top spin overhead. But I don't want you to think of overheads as flat smashes. That's overkill when you do it that way. A little side spin will give you a ton of control on your overhead. And you're truly only going to be able to hit side spin if you turn with your strings pointing down, because that's going to allow you to come around on edge. I'll show you that in a little bit, a little foreshadowing, but we got to kind of begin with the end in mind. So we're in our ready position, checkpoint number 1. Checkpoint number 2, we turn with both hands, and I'm moving around. I might have to move forward, I might have to move back, but both hands are on the racket. Just that one tip right there, turning with both hands with the strings pointing down, are going to help so many of you improve your overhead. So what do we do at this point? That's checkpoint number 2 with checkpoint number 3. Checkpoint number 3 is reach up toward the ball and knock a birthday hat off of the head from front to back. You may have seen on some of my serve videos where I'm demonstrating hitting a serve with a birthday hat. About 6 years ago, I was on the court with some pretty high-level 8-year-olds, and I was telling them that unicorns cannot serve correctly. And they all laughed, and the parents laughed. And I said, no, it's true, because the racket would hit their horn. right? So the unicorns can only serve palm up. And they all laughed, but I went to the store, and the next week I had them all wear birthday hats. And it was amazing the difference where they had to bring the racket from in front to back, almost like they're saluting, and they're bringing the racket in over the head to knock the birthday hat off to give themselves the instant feedback they needed to improve their serve. Well, guess what? The overhead is so closely related to the serve, we can use the same concept. So we're in our ready position for checkpoint 1. Checkpoint 2, we move around with both hands on the racket. Checkpoint 3 is reach up toward the ball and we knock a birthday hat off from front to back. This starts the circular motion that is going to give us racket speed. When the racket passes in over the head with the strings pointing down, it brings the elbow forward, and all of a sudden it looks like I'm an Eagles quarterback, go Carson Wentz, throwing a touchdown to Deshaun Jackson, right? So I'm in the ready position. For all you Cowboys fans, yeah, you heard me right. So I'm in the ready position, turn with both hands. That's checkpoint number 2, elbow back, strings down. Checkpoint number 3, I reach up toward the ball, I knock the birthday hat off of my head, and that brings me to checkpoint number 4. Checkpoint number 4 is where the racket is on edge. You'll notice my strings are not facing up. My racket is on edge. This is called a supinated position. When the racket is on edge, it allows me to lead toward contact with the edge so I can get some side spin, but it also promotes pronation, which is actually the fastest way to deliver the racket to the ball. Let me show you this from the back. I'm in the ready position. I turn with both hands on the racket. I reach up and I knock the birthday hat off of my head, and then I come around with my racket on edge. I want you to just look at some footage on YouTube, whether it's the serve or the overhead, and pick any player. Doesn't matter which player on the tour you choose, male or female, their racket when they come around on an overhead or serve is on edge. Again, supinated position allows us to lead with the edge of the racket for side spin, but it also allows us to pronate and get nice pop and snap into the contact so we can get that racket speed we're looking for. Racket speed is what tennis players use to create both speed and spin. Think of it as money, right? You want to be able to buy speed and spin, and the more racket speed you can create, the better. And coming around on edge so we can snap and actually snap the forearm and pronate is kind of our currency. It's what we need. So we're in our ready position. We turn with both hands. We reach up toward contact as we knock the birthday hat off from in front to back. We come around on edge. This is checkpoint number 4. So film yourself from the back and see if your racket is coming around on edge. Now, at this point, this is typically where I see tennis players make the mistake on amateur tennis players, where they start facing their target, or if they're right-handed, even facing left. It's vital that we keep our body facing to the right net post. I want you to think of this. Keep your body facing to the right net post. Do not start facing forward. You're going to hit very flat, you're going to bend from the waist, and you're going to pull that ball into the net. One of the best ways to keep your head up is to stay sideways. One of the best ways to stay tall on an overhead, which we want. We don't want to face forward and collapse. The best way to stay tall is actually to keep your body to the side. Now, checkpoint number 4 again is on edge, but I also want you to notice where my non-hitting hand is. My non-hitting hand is visible to the camera. Again, I'm hitting the ball that way. I changed my orientation, so I'm swinging away from the camera. My non-hitting hand is visible to the camera. Most players in a club setting have their arm here at this point. When you can harness the law of conservation of energy, which states that energy is not created, it's only transferred. You cannot create energy or destroy energy in a system. You can only transfer it from thing to thing. Well, when I start unwinding and I start pulling this non-hitting arm against my body, if I'm hitting the ball this way, I turn with both hands, checkpoint number 2, I reach up, knock the birthday hat off, checkpoint number 3, come around on edge. As I start bringing this arm in, it creates a reactive break. What does that mean? It means that my body's rotation slows down, but the energy is not created nor destroyed. It's only transferred. And guess where it goes? It goes into my arm, and it creates a whip. If you were to go holding roller skating and you were holding hands with someone, if you wanted to whip them forward on their roller skates, you would have to slow down. You're roller skating, you're ice skating. If you want to whip them forward, you have to slow down because you can't create the energy out of nowhere. You have to transfer it. So when you slow down, they speed up. It's the same thing. Your body's rotation slows down when you block it with this arm and the hitting arm accelerates. It's an easy way to get more racket speed. Highly recommend that you add that to your overhead. Now, I want to use a broken down Topspin Pro to explain side spin. So when we lead with the edge of the racket, it gives us the ability to spin the ball. I want you to think of a basketball player spinning a ball on their finger, right? So it's like a basketball player spinning a basketball. So when you slide along the ball, it has a horizontal axis. The ball is spinning around, a vertical axis is what I meant. It has a vertical axis and it's spinning around that axis. So as we hit the ball, we want to produce side spin. But as we're doing that, we're going to be pronating. So you can see my strings are facing off to the left, but after I hit, now my strings are facing off to the right. Watch this again. My strings are facing off to the left, but now my strings are facing off to the right. That's called pronation. Pronation is the act of making this move. So when your palm is facing off to the left and then your palm is facing off to the right, if you're right-handed, during the overhead, you're producing racket speed and hitting side spin. Many players aren't sure how to pronate and get side spin, and I hope this explains it. I'll use my hand for this one. Slide along the ball, then turn. So you can see my palm is facing off to the left, but now watch, now my palm is facing off to the right. So you're getting side spin like a basketball player. It's spinning like the earth, but then after I hit, my palm faces off to the right. That's the way you get side spin and swing really fast. Again, pronation is the way to get a ton of racket speed. Let me put this down and we'll go back to all the checkpoints, right? So I'm gonna hit this way. Checkpoint number 1. Checkpoint number 2, turn with both hands. You figure out that you're in the right spot. The ball's probably peaking at this point when you're gonna begin the swing over the head. You're gonna reach up toward the ball. You're gonna knock the birthday hat off your head. That's checkpoint number 3. Checkpoint 1, checkpoint 2, checkpoint number 3. Checkpoint 4, the racket comes around on edge as if you were gonna hit the ball with the edge of the racket. Checkpoint 5 is reaching up as high as you can and spinning the ball. But as you're doing that, you're pronating. Remember, you slide along the ball and turn. If I'm hitting the ball this way, I turn with both hands, I reach up, knock off the birthday hat, I come around on edge, I slide along the ball, and then I pronate. Checkpoint 5 is spinning along the ball, and checkpoint 6 is having the strings facing off to the right. Remember, my body is facing the net post at this point, and my non-hitting hand is visible to the camera at this point. If my left hand goes like this, I don't create that, or my non-hitting hand, I'll say, I don't create that reactive break. I face forward, I collapse, and I end up hitting the net. I want to keep my body sideways, so I stop my body's rotation. That actually accelerates my hitting arm, so I can have more racket speed to impart more spin, and spin is the way tennis players control the ball. Just think about a bowler, the way bowlers spin the ball. In billiards and pool, right? When somebody's playing with billiards, they use what's called English to put on the cue ball, and that's how they control the ball. Tennis players do the exact same thing. So you want to spin your overheads. Don't hit any flat overheads anymore. There's no need to. Hit side spin overheads, and if you're moving backward, hit top spin overheads to control the ball. After you're done, strings are facing off to the right, and by the way, during checkpoint number 5, you're not swinging towards your target. The ball goes where your strings point, not where your racket travels. The ball goes where your strings point, not where your racket travels. So I'm spinning along the ball, but I'm swinging off to the right of my target because the ball is going to go toward my target, but I'm swinging to the right of my target since I'm right-handed. That's going to get the ball to go where I want it to go, but get the ball to spin. The face sends it, the path bends it. You got to understand that concept. And then last is called checkpoint number 7, which is the power X. That's where your arms are crossed like the letter X. It's just a result of keeping your body sideways, you tucked your arm in, and then you finish on the opposite side. What I like to tell my students is that their non-hitting hand should actually smell like they're hitting armpit. It's just a nice, easy way to make sure that you use that reactive brake in order to accelerate the hitting arm. So let me go over it from multiple directions. Let's do it actually facing the camera. I'm in my ready position, checkpoint number 1. Ball goes up in the air. You're gonna turn with both hands. Again, you need to look like a football quarterback. Please do not stand there and point at the ball with your strings facing up. Then all you can do is swing to contact. Turn with both hands on the racket. When you reach up, you knock the birthday hat off of your head, which then produces a circular swing. A circular swing produces racket speed. Let me show you from this direction. Ready position, turn with both hands. I reach up, I knock the birthday hat off, I come around on edge. As the racket passes in over my head, I start dropping my I was about to say tossing arm as if it's a serve. My reaching arm, I'll call it my reaching arm, my non-hitting arm, but then it begins to drop. But as it drops, I pull it against my body. That stops my body. My racket's on edge because of my grip, because I turned with both hands on the racket. My racket comes around on edge. That allows me to spin the ball because I'm on edge like I'm spinning a basketball on my finger. But as I hit, I also pronate. So I spin and pronate, which gives me spin and speed for maximum control and accuracy on my overhead. I then continue pronating, and my strings will actually face the opposite direction from checkpoint 4, checkpoint 5, checkpoint 6. Checkpoint 6, the strings actually face in a completely different direction, the opposite direction, 180 degrees. Here my strings are facing my neighbor's yard. Here my strings are facing the camera, 180 degree difference. And then last, I hug myself in checkpoint number 7. Watch it from the back. Checkpoint 1, checkpoint 2, checkpoint 3, knocking off the birthday hat with the strings pointing down. Checkpoint 4, again, my body is facing the net post. I'm not gonna face my opponent. I'm facing the net post. Checkpoint number 4, racket is on edge. Please don't have your strings facing up. Put your racket on its edge. Checkpoint 5, I'm spinning along the ball, putting side spin, but notice I'm not swinging toward my neighbor's yard. I'm actually swinging toward my neighbor's house. I'm swinging to the right of where I want the ball to go, because the ball goes where my strings point, but the spin will occur in the direction my racket travels. I then spin along the ball, but begin pronating as I do that, where my strings face off to the right. I'm waving to the camera. My left hand, since I'm right-handed, is about to go into my non-hitting armpit. Checkpoint 1, checkpoint 2, checkpoint 3, checkpoint 4, checkpoint 5, checkpoint 6, checkpoint 7. I hope this video isn't too dark. It is really late where I am, but hopefully there's enough light that I can post this. Thank you so much for going through this video. It would mean the world to me if you let me know what you think in the comments. If you were to share this video with a friend or family member, or even a coach who's been trying to help you with your overhead, and maybe a different perspective might help as well. So thanks again. Please consider subscribing or following no matter which platform you're on, and I'll talk to you really soon. Thanks again.